Good afternoon, dear students. Today we are going to discuss the computer ethics part under the Society Law and Ethics, the second video for Unit 4. So we would like to start with the computer ethics first of all. Computer ethics, what do we mean by computer ethics? Actually, computer ethics are the moral guidelines that govern the use of computers and information. Actually, when we used to work on internet and social media and in a computing environment, then behavior of a group and individual, either it is a group or it's an individual, the behavior must be regulated. Okay, so ethics helps us to form an organized structure of laws so that the user communication can be regulated and privileges and responsibilities of user can be managed. That is what we known as computer ethics. Well, usually in computer ethics there are several things, some essential components which are supposed to be covered in this part: honesty, respect, confidentiality, professionalism, responsibility, communication, obeying the law. These are some essential components of a personal code of computer ethics. But usually in case of society, we deal with ethical issues with the usage and availability of information through some of the mechanisms like intellectual property rights or digital rights management or licensing. So let us have a look over it. What do we actually mean with them? Well, first of all, it is intellectual property rights. Intellectual property, just like property, it's a product of human intellect. All those things which we generate or which we create out of our intellectual abilities, whether it is song or literature or symbol or name or brand or any other model, that is our intellectual property. Okay, so intellectual property rights are like ordinary property rights. And what is it about? It is about that intellectual property rights allow the owner to completely benefit from his or her product. Okay, because it has been developed by someone, so benefit should be, or credit should be credit should be with the creator only. Okay, so with the intellectual property right, in short it is IPR. With IPR, a creator can prevent others from using, dealing or tampering with the product without prior permission. Okay, and it is legally valid. Okay, so in that case the creator can legally sue the misusers and force them to stop and compensate for any damages. So intellectual property right, it's a kind of say constitutional right which helps us to preserve our intellectual property. Fine. The related term is plagiarism. Plagiarism is defined as stealing someone else's intellectual work. As I have said, that if you have created some content, some app, some software, and somebody is stealing it and using it with his own name, or just marketing and getting some commercial benefit without giving the original creator its credit, then it is called plagiarism. Okay, so stealing someone else's intellectual work and representing it as your own work without citing or naming the source of information. This is very much important, without citing or naming the source of information. If we are not even citing, or if we are not giving credit, the original creator's credit, then of course it's a kind of you say offense to him. Okay, so like all other thefts, plagiarism also has having some disadvantages associated with it, penalties, punishments. Okay, there can be two types of plagiarism. It can be accidental or unintentional, when you do not know that whatever content you are using, it must be cited or the credit must be given or the license must be taken before use. then it is unintentional. But if it is deliberate or intentional, then it becomes an offense and punishable offense. Okay, so that's why plagiarism is an undesirable property in case of intellectual work. Fine. And how do we manage them? We manage using the digital rights management. So digital rights, whenever we are having some digital property like some data, some information or files, whatever is stored or being used on electronic medium or electronic storage is our digital property. Okay, now if we are having rights on this digital property, then of course we can decide who will use it, in which form. Okay, we should control it, but there are many problems, there are many threats. Like if we have associated a license, but there are software through which unlicensed software can be converted to a registered software. Many of us also unintentionally use the plagiarized softwares without, without respecting the digital rights. If we are using unlicensed software and convert it to a registered software or a licensed software through some utility, then it is an offense. Okay, so usually hackers, what they do, they get the actual access, modify and release the digital work with their name for commercial purpose. Okay, that's how this cyber crime takes place. So we need to be careful about digital rights management. It's a complete mechanism. There are systems which have been designed to enable access and use of digital materials and to restrict copying and sharing and changing the electronic media. Okay, you may have some other names for them: ERMS, RMIS, CMS. CMS is a common name which is usually being used in music industry or ebook industry or finance industry. Okay, so digital rights management, it's a complete mechanism to ensure the digital rights over the digital property. Fine. Then comes, then move towards licensing. What is it? When we are talking about digital rights management, then in the same respect we need to understand the licensing. Just like a vehicle license, just like a trade license, here licensing means the granting of permission to someone to use intellectual property of some other. I mean, I have created a song, I have created a software, okay, and I have given a license to you, then you can use it in your own manner, okay. And how do you get the license? In exchange for a fees, or in case of some conditions, like you are an academician and you wanted to educate to your student, then of course you can get it for free. So a license can be granted by a party to another party as an element of an agreement between those parties. Fine. So it is basically the granting of permission to use somebody else's properties. There are many types of licenses. Most common is the Creative Commons license, which is usually used with the educational softwares. Other type of licenses are GPL, General Public License, or Apache Software License, ASL. Okay, so every license is having some sort of rights which have been shown here in the table. Some sort of rights are associated with each type of license, and according to that, one may use or recreate or modify the original product. Okay, so let us check one by one. The most important one, CC license, Creative Commons license. Well, this is a license that enables the free distribution of a copyrighted work. Like for this, I would like to give an example of MS Office. So MS Office is a licensed software. It's a copyrighted by Microsoft. Okay, but there is an academic version, there is an educational purpose version, which can be downloaded for free and used for free. Okay, of course that version would not have the complete functionalities or the complete capacity, but it is enough to teach the students or to give them an idea about the software. So the CC license is used generally when the author, I mean the creator, wants to give other people the rights to share, use and build upon a work that has been created by him. Okay, so the author is having that flexibility with CC that the work will be used for non-commercial purpose, or you will not redistribute it, you will not further modify it. So in that case, CC license is absolutely very useful. On the other end, we have general public license, GNU GPL. Well, it's a widely used free software license which is generally given to the open source softwares, and end users will have the freedom to run, study, share and modify the software. So in a sense, all type of rights are available, and even you can charge a fee to distribute also. A classic example is Linux, where the companies make different type of distribution: Red Hat Linux, SUSE Linux, Ubuntu Linux. Okay, and then they distribute it with a fee. It is not always free. Sometimes a fee is included. Okay, so GNU license, GPL license can be helpful in such the cases. Another type of popular license is ASL, Apache license. Apache license use the software for any purpose, modify, redistribute, okay, without any concern for loyalties. That means money part is not involved here. Once you have got the right, then you have complete rights and you can use it in any manner. Okay, so this is the most flexible type of license which generally associated with the open source software. And let us have a look over open source software. What is this term open source and what is about open data? So in the next section we are going to have a look over that part. So open source software are all those software which are available in their complete form. Means to say source code is also available, and when source code is available, then you can study, you can change, you can improve, you can further distribute these software, and these are absolutely free. These are being made by a collaboration of multiple users, and these are made available just for that purpose, so that one can use the computing facilities or one can use the power of computer even if he has no enough money to pay the license fee for softwares. So there are open source alternatives to most of the software, like WPS Office is there, okay, or LibreOffice is there, which are the free versions, absolutely free versions. You can download them, you can use them without a license and without any piracy of MS Office. Okay, this is just an example. So open source softwares are available on the subjects and all the fields, and you can use them without any fear of piracy. Okay, there is another term called open data. Well, you know, companies have their own data, organizations have their own data, and it is restricted to their domain only. Means to say, if you want to get data of some company, they will not share it. But there are some companies, there are some government agencies which make their data public. Why? For research purpose, for study purpose, for sampling purpose. Okay, so this kind of data is known as open data. Okay, so this data you can easily get out of the related portals. There are some portals where these data banks are available. You can download them, you can use them, you can use them to test with your apps and your softwares or for your studies. And there are data volumes available with different domains, whether it is culture or it is science or financial or statistics, whatever it is. Okay, so that kind of data is known as open data. Then comes the information privacy. Another concern in this regard is information privacy or data privacy. So actually privacy deal with the ability of an organization or an individual to determine what data can be shared with third party which is out of that organization. Like if you are a businessman, so if somebody asks you to share your data, so then it is your right to share it with him in a limited access. Just like that, if you are using social media, then you can use your post or you can make your post public or private or restricted. Okay, so data should that should be kept private. Reason is that if every data is available to everybody, then it can go in the wrong hands, and when it goes in the wrong hands, then bad things can happen. You cannot avoid it. Okay, so there are some tips to to protect your personal data, like use a locking mailbox so that thieves should not steal your mail. Okay, likewise, if you want to discard some document or some sheet, better to shred it or to make it in that form so that it should not be recoverable. Okay, home Wi-Fi, keep a strong password so that nobody can eavesdrop into your activities. Okay, and most importantly, think before you share any personal information on some website or with others so that your data cannot be misused. Fine. So this is about data privacy. So these three terms are closely associated with each other. At the one end, we are using open data and open source software. On the other end, we are talking about privacy. So you can understand that all those terms exist and they coexist rather, respecting each other. So on the one end, data is open also, but it needs to be protected for privacy as well under the privacy laws. Fine. And whatever personal data is there or whatever organizational data is there, of course, privacy applies to them in a normal manner. So there are some privacy laws which deal with the regulation, storing and using of such information which is personal to you or important to you or any other organization. Okay, so most of the time your financial information, healthcare information. Okay, so this should not be get into the wrong hands. There are privacy laws formulated by different governments of different countries, and these can be classified as general and specific privacy laws. General laws applies to everybody, and it covers the most common part of the information, most common areas of the information, whereas the specific privacy laws are designed to regulate specific type of information. Okay, for financial information, it is financial privacy. For online information, it is online privacy. Okay, so the right to privacy, as far as India is concerned, the right to privacy is a fundamental right, and it is an intrinsic part of Article 21 that protects life and liberty of the citizens. So it is already documented in our constitution. And you see, in 2011, India passed a subordinate legislation that included various new rules that apply to the privacy of companies and consumers. In 2017, a bench of Supreme Court has accepted or has declared that right to privacy is an intrinsic part of right to life, and it should be preserved in all manners. So here today we have in this video we have covered various aspects of computer ethics and some standards which are related to the commercial use of information or commercial use of commercial distribution of information. So that's how we have covered that part. In the next video, we are going to have some coverage on cyber crimes. It's going to be an interesting part because various kind of cyber crimes are supposed to be covered in that video. Till then, thank you very much. Bye bye.